Image and the pressure mounted. Sponsors pulled back, and Henry's board demanded he cut ties. But Henry refused, resigning from his own company, shocking the market, and using his personal fortune to start a foundation run not by executives but by educators and community leaders from neighborhoods like Isaiah's. And Isaiah struggled too, facing resentment from classmates who said he was a mascot, teachers who underestimated him, kids who said he'd been saved like an object instead of respected like a mind, and the biggest twist came years later when Henry suffered a stroke and was hospitalized, and Isaiah, now a young man studying engineering, sat by his bedside, reading to him, holding his hand the same way he had in the rain, and Henry confessed that the night they met, he had planned to end his life quietly, overwhelmed by regret and loneliness, and Isaiah's help had saved him in ways no one would ever report. And when Henry passed, he left Isaiah nothing in his will, shocking everyone until the final document was revealed, stating that Isaiah had already been given the only inheritance that mattered, belief, access, and responsibility, and that the foundation would now be led by Isaiah, not because of charity, but because he had proven something rare: that character doesn't rise with wealth, it reveals itself when no one is watching. And years later, when another storm hit the city, cameras caught Isaiah walking an elderly woman home, coat over her shoulders, no entourage, no announcement, just a quiet act repeating itself, and America watched, and some people still argued, still doubted, but millions more subscribed, shared, and remembered that one small choice by a poor black boy in the rain had reminded a nation what dignity looks like when it's soaked, shaking, and still standing. Listen closely before this story begins, because stories like this don't just entertain. They change how you see people forever. And if you believe kindness still matters in America, hit subscribe right now so you never miss a story that proves compassion can rewrite destiny. Because on a rain-soaked night in a forgotten corner of the city, a poor black boy made a choice that would shake the lives of powerful men who never expected to know his name. And the consequences of that choice would echo far beyond one stormy walk home. The rain came down like it had something to prove, thick and punishing, bouncing off cracked sidewalks and dented trash cans in a neighborhood most people only drove past with locked doors and rolled-up windows. And 12-year-old Isaiah Carter pulled his threadbare hoodie tighter around his head as he hurried home from the corner store. Shoes soaked, socks squishing, stomach growling, the plastic bag with a loaf of discount bread and a can of soup swinging from his wrist like it might slip away too, just another thing he couldn't afford to lose. And that was when he heard the sound that didn't belong. A weak cough mixed with the slap of rain against flesh instead of fabric, and when Isaiah turned, he saw the old man hunched over near the bus stop bench. No umbrella, no coat. Expensive leather shoes ruined by water, gray hair plastered to his forehead, his hands trembling as he tried to stand and failed, and Isaiah froze because his mama had taught him not to get involved. That the world wasn't kind to boys like him, that helping the wrong person could get you blamed, hurt, or worse. But something in the old man's eyes, a quiet panic wrapped in pride, stopped Isaiah's feet from moving, and when the old man finally looked up, his voice was barely louder than the rain as he said, "Son, I don't suppose you could help me get home?" And Isaiah hesitated, heart pounding, because he knew how this looked, a black boy with an old white man in a rich coat in the wrong neighborhood after dark. But he also knew what it felt like to be alone and scared, and he nodded, setting his grocery bag down and offering his thin arm. And the old man leaned on him heavier than Isaiah expected, the weight of years and something deeper pressing down as they walked slowly through flooded streets, the old man apologizing between labored breaths, explaining he'd missed his ride and his phone had died, his address scribbled on a soggy business card. And as they walked, the old man asked Isaiah questions about school, about his dreams, about his mother working double shifts at the nursing home, about how Isaiah liked fixing broken radios and dreamed of being an engineer even though his school barely had textbooks. And something softened in the old man's face with every answer, like pieces of a past he'd forgotten were snapping back into place. And by the time they reached the tall iron gates of a mansion that looked like it belonged in another city entirely, Isaiah was shivering, hands numb, and the old man paused, staring at the house like it was a stranger, then turned and pressed something into Isaiah's hand. But Isaiah pushed it back gently, saying his mama said you don't help folks for money, and the old man laughed softly, a sound cracked by emotion, and said, "Then I owe you more than money, son?" And watched from the doorway as Isaiah ran back into the rain, disappearing into the dark like a story no one would believe, and Isaiah thought that was the end of it, just another strange night to add to the list of things that happened when you were poor and invisible, until the next afternoon when 3 black SUVs rolled into his block like they were lost or looking for trouble, men in suits stepping out, scanning the area, neighbors peeking through blinds, and when they asked for Isaiah Carter by name, his mother's face went pale, fear tightening her jaw as she stepped in front of him, demanding to know what he'd done, and the tallest man, eyes sharp but not unkind, said, "Ma'am, your son helped someone very important last night." And Isaiah's mind raced, thinking maybe the old man had fallen later, maybe something bad had happened, and they were here to blame him, but instead they escorted him downtown to a building of glass and steel, where security opened doors without questions, and they led him into a quiet office where the old man from the rain stood up, no longer weak, no longer hunched, but tall, commanding the storm, replaced by sunlight streaming through windows, and he smiled when he saw Isaiah, introducing himself as Henry Whitmore, founder of one of the largest infrastructure firms in the country, a man whose decisions shape cities, and he told Isaiah that the night before had been the first time in years no one recognized him, no assistants, no drivers, no power, just a tired old man and the first person who stopped.